One thing that we didn't talk about, because we talked about how important in-laws are.
Yeah.
And it's so true. There does also need to be some safeguarding of the marriage, right?
Yeah.
So this isn't an issue necessarily that we've had, but if your in-laws are asking to see your finances so they can go through your finances with you, that's a hard no. If you need help with your finances, you can go to a financial professional, but you don't go to your in-laws, because that's just a recipe for disaster. And we've seen this in our people very, very close to us, where it just cascades into a whole slew of boundary crossing that's not beneficial for anyone, right? So if you need help with your marriage, okay, here's another perfect example. I'm not going to go to my mother and complain about you.
That's a good, this is a good one. This is a good one.
If you need a marriage counselor, you go to a marriage counselor and you get help. But don't do it with your mom. Because you might have this thing that's annoying that, guess what, you get over, but now your mom knows this thing and she's not going to get over it quite as quickly as you will. And it's a breach of trust with your spouse. So last week we talked about roles and responsibilities and how to navigate those in a relationship.
Yeah.
Today we're going to talk about in-laws.
In-laws. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
In-laws. And I remember, oh my gosh, when our firstborn was 6 months old, so over a decade ago, I used to blog. I had a little blog. It was called Grace Beyond Measuring Spoons, and it was super fun. But the most popular blog post I ever wrote was called "The Oh So Dreaded Mother-in-Law," and it is totally a spin because
Clickbait.
It's totally clickbait because my mother-in-law is actually fantastic. So that was my most popular. It's a topic that a lot of people want to talk about, and that a lot of people have a really hard time with.
Because almost 100% of marriages have in-laws.
Almost all of them, yeah.
Almost all of them, yeah. So for sure, you got to.
And I think it's one of those things, kind of like we talk about with marriage itself, and that people always tell you, oh, it's going to be really hard, and marriage is really hard, and so then you kind of go into marriage thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to be really hard, and then guess what? It's hard because that. And I think people do the same thing with in-laws, oh, your mother-in-law is just going to be awful, and so guess what? Because that's where your mindset's at. You're going to think your mother-in-law is awful. Well, maybe she's not even.
Well, maybe not. Yeah, you confirm your deepest beliefs.
You confirm your beliefs. So I think it's a really important thing to talk about.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you.
Yeah.
So let's do it. Let's dive in.
Yeah. So diving in right away, I think that our mindset on our in-laws has helped us a lot, and how we choose to think about our in-laws, both of us on both sides, because are they a little weird? Of course.
Yes.
Do they say things you don't like sometimes? Of course.
Yeah.
Do they have opinions on things you wish they didn't have opinions on?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
But do they love us? Do they support our marriage? Do they encourage us? Do they love our children?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of the jackpot as far as grandparents.
Yeah, 100%. And I think also too, right? This stems back to how we treat our marriage, but I think it's also always good to have the perspective that your in-laws have good intent for you, right? It's now, again, I'm not saying 100% across the board, but I'm saying most in-laws want you to have a good marriage. They want you to have a good life. They want you to have a more fulfilling marriage. And with that being said, they might have a way that they see that going down, but their input and the things they say to you are said with good intent. And I think if you can keep that in perspective, it'll keep you from saying, oh my gosh, why would she say that? Why did she do that?
Right.
Who is she to say that I should treat my boys like this or parent like this or.
And truthfully, when that kind of stuff makes you uncomfortable, if your mother-in-law says something that really rattles you, maybe the truth is you're not confident enough in your position to be unbothered.
100%.
You know what I mean? If you're confident enough in your role with your children, your role with your husband, your decision that you've made, those things aren't really going to bother you.
Yes.
You might need to do some internal reflection of ooh, why did that one sting so bad? Because maybe there's a little bit of truth to it, or maybe you just need to get a little bit stronger in your conviction. And that's uncomfortable. Hold on.
Yeah.
You tell me my mother-in-law is bad. Not that I'm wrong, but that's just not reality.
Well, it's a good point, because the most confident person usually doesn't have to talk about how confident they are.
Right.
But
they're just not rattled.
They're just not rattled. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You walk into a room and everybody's talking and you're staying silent because you have confidence in what you believe. And the people that tend to talk the most tend to have the least amount of confidence. And so I agree with that.
Yeah. So what is your outlook on in-laws? How have you chosen to look at that from the time we were dating to married? How did you choose to see it?
How did I view in-laws? Well, that's
And
a
we're
good
talking
question.
specifically mother and father-in-law, not so much sisters and brothers. And like, obviously the train goes further, but parent in-laws first.
How did I view it? Oh man, like, what do you mean? Like, how did I?
What was your outlook?
What was my
Just your
outlook on it?
overarching approach to your in-laws? What was it?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I had too many, like going into marriage, there was never something that I said, oh my gosh, like brace for impact or anything like that. I happen to like your parents, right? And your parents had a very different, like your family and my family had a very different vibe. Do you know what I'm saying? And I mean, we can go into that, but when we went into marriage, I kind of knew where your family stood, right? Your family was very much like marriage is the holy grail. And you two, like so much so where it was like, you know, I remember watching your parents, right? They always did a date night. They always like, if it came down to kids or the marriage, what you guys were doing, it was always like they prioritized their marriage over pretty much everything else. So honestly, when we got married, it was kind of like you two figure it out.
Yeah, very
Like,
much.
yeah.
And my parents made it clear, like, you don't get to come home. Like, if you have an
Yeah.
issue with your husband, you figure it out. You don't get to come back here.
Yeah, 100%. Where a lot of parents would be like, oh my gosh, like, hey, come back. Like,
Yeah.
you know, if this is like, come, you're welcome.
Right.
Yeah, but your parents had very much the mentality of like, you are now married and it is your job to figure that out. And their story and everything, you know, again, how your parents cleaved to one another when they got married and they moved away and all. So like, I knew that going into marriage, like I knew that was their mindset. So with that being said, they were actually the opposite of abruptive. They were like almost on the complete end of the
Right,
spectrum,
yeah.
where it was like, you figure it out. Well, you know, which I can appreciate.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Because what that basically does is it makes you figure it out. Right?
Yeah.
So that was my viewpoint going into marriage. I knew where your parents stood. I knew how they viewed marriage. I saw what they did in their marriage. So I knew when we got married, it was going to be you and I in this battle together, and that your parents were going to pretty much let us figure this thing out. You know, how about you?
Yeah. So I
Probably a lot different.
definitely a lot different. So
Yeah.
like you said, your family and my family were very, very different.
Yeah, 100%.
In that your family is very involved.
100%. Yeah.
And when we were dating, that was something that really concerned me. Because like you said, I come from a family that's like, hey, when you get married, that's it. You know, and I was really concerned that it was going to feel like not the way I wanted. And I will say from the time we said our vows, there was never any issue there. And I was really, really pleasantly surprised. Your parents were super respectful of our marriage. And so that surprised me. That was a issue that I anticipated that never came to fruition. But the way
100%.
I've always chosen to think about my in-laws is that, of course, they're not perfect because nobody ever is. And for one, I'm not going to be a perfect parent either or a perfect in-law either. And I hope that my children and my future in-law or daughter or son-in-law will have enough grace for me. So I'm gonna extend that to my in-laws. But also, my husband, who I adore, would not be the person he is today if it weren't for all of the wonderful things and mistakes his parents made. So
That's
I
right.
don't begrudge them any of it because it made my husband who he is. And so I think it's really
That's right.
important to remember that. I think a lot of people can feel some,
Yeah, no, it's a great point.
you know,
Had it not been for how my parents were, what they did, how they raised me,
Right, it
you would have never
develops you into you.
married me, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a great point.
And then the other thing that I've always chosen to think about when it comes to my in-laws is that I never wanted to put you in a position where you felt like you had to choose your parents or me. Like I never wanted you in that position. So I chose, like, even if it's uncomfortable or hard, I'm going to choose to bless my husband by welcoming his parents into
Yeah,
my home
100%.
and loving them and like wanting them a part of our life as much as possible.
Yes.
And so those were two things that I was very, very aware of from the start.
100%. Yeah. And when I say opposites in terms of the spectrum of our parents, so this is how I view it. My parents chose family over marriage. At least that's what I perceive. Right. And your parents chose marriage over not marriage over family, but it was very evident that if it came to the kids or the marriage, it was the marriage, right? Like that was the number one thing. And then with my family, it was almost the opposite. It was like if it came to the kids or the marriage, they would almost forego the marriage to
for sure.
To do the kids thing.
Right.
And then when we got married, we had to figure that out. But I think very much we have adopted the mindset that the marriage is the first thing.
Well, because truthfully, by prioritizing your marriage, you're actually blessing your kids. Or the other way around, you think you're doing something good for your kids, but you're actually taking a lot away from them. Because really the best thing for kids is a strong marriage.
I agree with that.
And so I think that's something that we've kind of come to in our own marriage.
Yeah. Because if you don't prioritize it over everything else, then how can it be as strong as it possibly could be? And then by having the strongest marriage possible, your kids feed off that. And so,
as much as I love and adore my children, and Lord knows I do more than anything, they're only in my home for a very short season. And then they're going to leave and hopefully be married to their spouse for 50, 60 years, right? I want them to expect to be loved by their spouse so much that like, because what they saw with us, not because they were so like prioritized in our home, but because I know what it looks like to have a husband prioritized. So when I get married, I expect to be prioritized that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're giving a model.
I'm giving a model
of what to do in the future. If they copied our model, you can be proud of that.
Right.
Like my son and daughter copied what we did because they felt like that was the best way to go.
And I really want to present marriage to our children in a way that makes them want to get married.
100%. Yeah,
I think like
that's a whole nother episode. We got to talk about that one. Yeah, because that's an interesting one. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So then integrating in-laws into our life has obviously sometimes we've had challenges, of course, but for the most part, it's been pretty great. But how have we approached the challenges that we've faced with in-laws?
Well, as you know, I wrote down a little acronym.
You have a framework, and it's fantastic.
I have a little framework. Should I do do you want to go like with your your kind of stuff first, and then I get into the framework after, or do you want to kind of? Okay. So literally today, guys, like I knew we were going to be doing this podcast, so I sat down for 30 minutes, and I'm like, hey, we got to have what is the framework that we have maybe kind of used in our marriage to deal with in-laws, right? And so for those of you listening, you can write this down. And it's pretty cool because it follows the CALM framework. So CALM, calm. So you got to remain calm. But C, and I'll give it a practical example of how we've done this in the past. But C stands for communicate clearly. Okay, number one. A stands for align as a couple. L stands for lead with empathy. Okay. And then M stands for maintain your boundaries. And so we were talking about like an example this morning. It's probably a good example, right? Really good. So for example, my wife and I, obviously we started with two boys, Riker and Armor. So in my family, I was the only boy. In your family, you only had one boy in your family. Mm-hmm. So we both didn't know how to approach two boys.
The brother dynamic,
right? And so for any of you listening out there, you could probably say, yeah, if you have two boys, you know that, they love to wrestle. They love to roughhouse. It's very physical relationship. And my wife and I didn't know how to really respond to that, right? We're like, well, should we just let them beat the crap out of each other? Or should we just let it, should we create rules? Like it was one of these things that we struggled with.
Well, there was a couple of years from the time Armor got old enough to really play with Riker until we kind of came to a agreement where I felt like all I was doing was refereeing, telling them no, telling them to stop all day long.
Yeah. And that still hasn't really stopped. We still have to referee a lot.
I'm a lot better.
But a lot better. Yeah.
A lot of it.
Yeah. 100%. So with that being said, so my wife and I came up with this rule, right? There was two rules when it came to the boys. It was like, listen, guys, these are the two rules. You can't.
No, there's three rules.
3 rules. Okay, maybe you should say them then.
Go ahead.
Okay, I know 2. Rule number 1 was, listen, you can't hit in the face. No face shots, right?
Shoulders down.
Shoulders down, yeah. Rule number 2 was it had to be mutual. So if you both want to beat each other up and wrestle, you both have to want to do it. And as long as those are the two that I remember, or that I know of to this day. But is there a third one?
There's no intentional ball shots.
Okay, no intentional ball shot. Yeah, yeah. And it's crazy that you have to tell them this, but they literally want to hit each other in the balls all the time.
They do.
But it's like the weirdest thing. So anyways, so going back to the story, right? Your mom obviously would come over every Tuesday. Your mom and dad would come over, and one day your mom was just like, "Wow, like Hayley, like, you know, your boys are pretty aggressive. Like, I think they're too aggressive with each other."
It was one boy in particular. She felt like he was being mean. Like this was not right.
Yeah, exactly. She just thought there was a better way to go about the parenting a solution, right? So she clearly explained to you, like, "Hey, Hayley, I think you should do X." I don't know exactly what she said.
Like it was like they can't be allowed to do this.
Yeah,
like that was her.
Yeah, like you should cut this off. Like just cut this off, right? And so that was kind of what we experienced. Now going back to the framework, you implemented this like to the T, right? And so what you did with your mom is you communicated clearly to your mom. You said, "Hey, Mom, listen, I totally understand what you're saying, but what we've come up to, like the rules that we have in our home for our boys is no face shots, no ball shots, and it has to be mutual. And I appreciate what you're saying, Mom, but this is what works for us."
Yeah, and right? I explained to her, like, "Look, I've actually really struggled with this relationship too, so I get it.
Yes,
but this is where we've landed.
This is where we've landed, right? So you followed that. You communicated to her. And then the second thing we did, I remember that, I think it was that night, we aligned as a couple. You told me about what, this experience that you had with your mom. And then we kind of talked about it and we're like, "Hey, we're on the same page with this, right?" Like we totally agree that with our boys, this is the way that we see our parenting happening with them in terms of this aggression. Mm-hmm. And then we came to a mutual agreement that this is what we want to do, right? So then we did A together. And then Al would lead with empathy. And what I mean by that is we never blamed your mom or tried to make your mom feel bad for her opinion or try to say, "You know what, your mom's just trying to like bring a wedge into our marriage. And why is she trying to figure out, parent?" We just said, "Hey, listen, your mom has a way of seeing this that is different." But again, going back to her intention was pure, right?
She loves the boys.
She loves the boys. And we knew she loved the boys. We knew that she brought this to us because she thought, if I can communicate this to Hayley, I think this might be a better way of doing it, right? But it was from a good intention.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's how we led with empathy. We totally understood and we took a step back and said, "Hey, your mom's trying to help, not hurt," right? And then last one is M. We maintained the boundaries. We didn't give in. It was not like, "Oh, we're going to change." Like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, "Hey, Mom, listen, this is how we do it. We appreciate you so much, but this is what we're going to do." And then we continue to maintain that boundary of where we stand, and this is how we're going to do it, right? And so that's like a practical example of how you could use this framework in an everyday scenario with your...
And there's been 1,000 other ones, but that's just a really easy, good one.
100%. Calm. Write it down. Calm.
Yeah.
And yeah. So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it's just so good.
Genius.
I think it's genius.
Yeah. By the way,
everything you do is genius. That's just the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I honestly think that, so a little side note, right? So we're in sales. Our business is a sales thing. And so in sales, we try, like as a company, we try to use frameworks, right? And I love frameworks because I feel like you could framework your entire life. Because if you just have a framework for everyday decisions, making the decision becomes so much easier. It's not like, "Oh, my parents brought this to me. What do I do?" It's like, no, I do the calm framework.
Right.
I'm going to communicate clearly. So it makes life so much simpler. And what I've realized in business, it makes business so much and sales so much simpler as I just follow the framework.
Yeah.
So anyways.
Okay. So
yeah.
Now, considering that framework, can you think of an example of a time where either your parents or my parents maybe brought something to us that we were like, "Oh yeah, they might be right. Like maybe we do need to change this or adjust this or look at this"?
Well, I will say that I believe, and this is a belief that we both hold, is that we're very open-minded. Me and Hayley, I think, right? If we're on the same page, we don't feel like we ever have it all right.
Out,
yeah. There's only two beliefs that we have that are set in stone. For me personally, belief number one is that Jesus is the only way, and I'll never not believe that. And belief number two is that, what would I say the other day? Is it marriage, our family?
Marriage,
yeah, marriage is like number one, and I will prioritize marriage. You know, like those are like the two beliefs that nobody's going to change. But besides that, we're open to it. So I think we've gotten a lot of feedback. Let's see. I mean, I'm trying to think of a practical example right now of what we've gotten. Oh yeah, we got people. Oh, Ishmael's in the house.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, baby. Can you think of one? I don't want to draw a blank, but I'm drawing a blank. I know we've taken so much feedback.
Yeah.
I know we have.
Well, okay. So do you remember Mother's Day last year? We had a bit of an
I was
issue.
thinking about this. Yes. I'm glad you brought this up. Yep.
We had an issue last year with Mother's Day.
Yeah.
With not communicating our plans clearly enough.
Yes.
And your mom's feelings actually got really hurt.
100%.
And
that was my fault. That was my fault. Yeah, that was my fault.
100%
100% my fault.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was. But anyways, but we it was to the point that we had to have a sit down conversation with your mom because her feelings were really hurt and she was viewing the situation from one angle and we had to kind of express our angle and how this had all happened. But I think, still to this day, I think we've really taken that to heart and okay, we need to make sure we're communicating really clearly. We need to make I don't know. That's something I'm very conscious of whenever we have to make a plan or anything.
Yeah.
Just making sure
and I think that's
clear.
Okay. So I think how this example changed our behavior is that I realized that I didn't communicate effectively to my mom on Mother's Day of what our plans were. I left it to the last minute, right?
Because you were afraid of hurting feelings, which just ended up hurting feelings more.
Because I was afraid of hurting feelings, which ended up hurting feelings more. Exactly. And so but the behavior change is the most important part.
Of course.
Right. And so how this changed my behavior is that my mom, well, she probably followed the calm framework a little bit too, but she clearly communicated that, hey, I'm left in the dark. I didn't know this. You guys didn't tell me this. Rich, what's going on? And my mom thought it was mostly you that didn't communicate it, not knowing that it was, no, Mom, it was actually me that didn't communicate it. So even this Mother's Day is right around the corner. And this example, we literally just talked about hey, babes, we got to communicate more clearly this time in Mother's Day. We can't do that again. And so we took that as feedback from my mom, my parents. We all sat down at a dinner table, like you said, and we talked about the situation and we came up with a solution. It was just hey, listen, next time, just communicate it. And make no mistake about it. This time we're going to communicate it.
Every time from now on.
Yeah, every time from now on. So that's a really good example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have been very fortunate in that we've never had any huge in-law issues. I think the argument could be made that that's more so because of how we choose to look at the relationship than the actual relationship itself. But that's probably a different conversation for a different day. But how do you think you would approach a big issue?
A big issue?
Yeah.
Well, I think I would approach it just like how I would approach any big issue, whether it was life, business, friendship. I think one of the greatest skills that you can learn is how to effectively communicate with people, right? And I know this firsthand. When you have a big issue arise and you need to have a conversation, what we do, and I've been guilty of this over and over and over, is we put off the conversation. Because in our mind, we play out a story that is really bad. It's this thing is going to blow up. I don't want it to get heated. What if I lose the relationship? What if they leave? What if this happens? And so you play this whole story in your mind and you never have the conversation because you've already played it out and you're I'm too afraid to have that conversation. But what I can say from experience, okay, having tough conversations is that it never goes as bad as you think.
Right. And I think what's also really important to remember is that those tough conversations are worth having.
You need to have them.
But I think we live in a world that's so quick to cut people off.
100%. I agree with this.
And it's no, there's we homeschool our kids, right?
Yeah.
And I have a rule in our homeschool that homeschool will always be put on the back burner of grandparents. So if a grandparent is hey, can I take the boys golfing? Yes, you can. they can get to schoolwork later, because I think that they're going to learn more in those couple hours they spend with their grandpa than they're going to learn in front of their school book. So please, like, those relationships are so invaluable to children. And we know this firsthand. I lost my dad about a year and a half ago. And okay, that leads me to another perfect example.
By the way, can I just take 2 books that people can read on this to have better conversations? Number 1 is Crucial Conversations. Okay. That book is a good book. Book number 2 is Emotional Intelligence 2.0. And that one teaches you how to deal with humans and have emotional intelligence. Some people have it naturally. Some people have to develop it. But those 2 books will help you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Okay. So this is another really important thing I want to touch on, because this is another way that your family and my family are very, 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 very different, in that your family is really, really good at knowing what's important and what's not, or knowing what's a big deal and what's not, I guess is what I'll say. And my family was a little bit different in that most things were a big deal.
Yes.
And so I've definitely had to learn, and I've learned a lot from your family over the years, and like how not to make a big deal out of little things.
Molehill. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not make a mountain out of a molehill. But one way that we've been able to actually put that into practice that I'm so incredibly thankful for is my dad he loved all things sugar and candy and nonsense and just disgusting.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh my gosh. We went to Lake Arrowhead for his birthday a couple years ago, and he was turning 59. And it was literally the entire 4 days we were there. My kids lived on Oreos and Capri Suns. And in my dad's own words, he wanted the real, like, high fructose syrup juice. He's like, don't try to get me the healthy one. I want the normal Capri Sun. And root
that
beer
was character, man.
and cereal. And just not a good thing for them. And that is very, very unlike me, right? I'm pretty nutrition conscious and
yes.
But I allowed it for 4 days, and it was just a complete free for all. And sadly enough, my dad ended up passing 9 days later. But to this, and my kids were really little when my dad passed.
Oh yeah.
But they still have this memory of sugar with pops. Like that was just like, that's something that they'll remember.
That's one of my core memories of your dad. Yeah. He ate all the sugar stuff.
And so I could have made a big deal about that and been like, no, put the Oreos down. You have to go eat an apple. And you know what? Would that, like, in the grand scheme of their health, it wouldn't have made a difference. But in the big picture of their memories with my dad, it did matter a lot that they were able to do that. So you need to know when. And that was honestly just by the grace of God, because normally I would have cracked down on that. And for some reason, I just knew that wasn't the time to crack down.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even a conscious thing, to be honest. It just was the grace of God that weekend happened the way it did. Sounds funny. But,
you got to choose your battles. Choose them wisely.
And also, like, you have to be really confident in your position with your kids, right? If your kids are with you 95% of the time, let the grandparent do the grandparent thing.
Yeah.
Like, pretend you don't see when they're sneaking him a soda or something. Like, just pretend you don't see it, but let them have their thing.
That's their thing. That is their thing. They earned that. They earned that right.
They did, because they probably didn't do it for you.
Yeah. They earned. Yeah, exactly.
And I just think so often people get they make mountains out of molehills. It's like, just be confident in where you stand with your kids, and let the grandparents do their thing.
Yeah.
I think that's so important.
Yeah. I think the big takeaway I got what you just said right now is like little picture thinking versus big picture thinking. The little picture is like, okay, yeah, it's hurting their health maybe in that little scenario, but the bigger picture was these are core memories that your kids are going to have with your dad, with your family that you want them to have. And so which one's more important, the core memory or this little, thing? So yeah, I think that's really important. And I'll say this, for the audience, for all of us, but I will say this, there's probably people listening right now and they're thinking there is a conversation that they need to have. And they've been putting it off for weeks, months, or even years because they don't want to have these conversations. But I would encourage everybody listening, if you can muster up enough courage to have the conversation, A, I promise you this, it won't go as bad as you think. And B, you'll feel so relieved. You'll be like, oh, weight off your shoulders.
Yeah.
Like, I truly believe this. Like the more anxiety and anxious and stuff like people feel, I think it's because they just don't make the decisions that they know they need to make, to have the conversations that they know they need to have. And you just lift that anxiety off of you and you can live freer. And I've experienced that firsthand.
Yeah.
So it'd be an encouragement.
Well, and okay, so I have an example of that.
Yeah.
We were getting a puppy for our son's 10th birthday, right?
Yeah.
And in the process of getting this puppy, we had people telling us like, oh my gosh, you got to put up these gates because what if he's a runner? And you got to do this because what if the dog does this? And you have some puppies do this, so you better do this. And it was like trying to plan for every single problem. But I remember thinking like, okay, but what if we get the dog home and it doesn't have that problem, but it has some other problem that we didn't think about?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, how about you just deal with the problem when it comes instead of trying to think about every problem that could possibly come?
Yeah.
And dealing with a million problems that you never even had to deal with.
Yeah.
Like this dog that we got doesn't run away.
No, he doesn't.
So like I could have put up an electric fence and not needed it.
100%.
But you know what? He does chew up toilet paper. So I got to like close the bathroom door.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
Yeah.
you don't know what problems you're actually going to have. So just wait till you actually have the problem.
But again, you heard this from somebody else, right? Somebody else told you this. These are things that other people told you, correct?
All the zillion problems that he could have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a good thing. Is like people are talking from their experience. So again, they have good intent.
Right.
They're not trying to ruin your life by saying this. They're just like, my dog ran away.
Right.
So you need to have a fence, right? So I think it's a good perspective to keep in mind is that like, to your point, you can pretty much ignore a lot of it. But again, when somebody gives you that, it's coming from their own experience. And those experiences, they're going to try to put onto you to take the necessary precautions so that you don't have to feel the way they did,
Right.
you know?
The intent is good.
Yeah. The intent is good though.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to remember. That, you know, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's one final thing that I wanted to touch on, and then I don't know if you have anything else. But we have a good friend who she's not married, but her sister is married and has like completely written off her parents, right? They see the kids like, I mean, maybe they've seen them once or twice in their whole life because she thinks her mom's crazy and whatever her thoughts are.
Exactly.
And that is, to me, that is so sad. And I just think it's so important to communicate and to like even communicate in your own mind and to yourself the value that in-laws or grandparents can bring to your family into your life, and not just like the cultural like, oh my gosh, they're annoying. Everyone's annoying in their own way.
Yeah.
But they also bring so much to your life that is so invaluable that you are robbing your children and robbing your spouse and robbing yourself of a really, really beautiful, pivotal, important relationship in your life if you just cut people off like that.
Yeah.
I just think it's really sad.
I think it is very sad. And I think you and I try to consciously remember that. Like, look, whether it's Republican or Democrat, whether it's I believe in Jesus or I don't believe in Jesus, whether it is, hey, I think, you should do this and you should do, like at the end of the day, I think you and I try to fully just understand where the person's coming from. We don't like, and by understanding where they're coming from, we don't write them off.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, look, this guy obviously believes these things because he thinks it's the right way to go.
Right.
And
even if we can't understand the conclusion, understanding that person came to that conclusion honestly through their own life experience.
Exactly.
And very, very rarely do people set out to do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Or to be stupid or like that's never anyone's intent. So however they achieved that conclusion, whether you agree with it or not, they came by it honestly.
100%. And if you want to help somebody see a new perspective, the best way is not to just argue with that person and say you're wrong. It's to come alongside them, build a relationship with them, and let them see your light. Let them see your example, your light, the way that you view the world. And by coming together, you can have so much more influence in that process, as opposed to just like, you're wrong. You should be doing X. I don't agree with you. That's not right. You should be doing that.
Right. I can't speak to you anymore.
That all that causes is division. There's no unification there. So I think you're completely right. I think it is sad. And I would say, what I think those people need is just a good conversation, a coming to Jesus moment. Like, let's talk about this.
Okay. So one thing that we didn't talk about, because we talked about how important in-laws are.
Yeah.
And it's so true. There does also need to be some safeguarding of the marriage, right?
Yeah.
So this isn't an issue necessarily that we've had, but like if your in-laws are asking like to see your finances so they can go through your finances with you, that's a hard no. Like if you need help with your finances, you can go to a financial professional, but you don't go to your in-laws because that's just a recipe for disaster. And we've seen this in our people very, very close to us where it just cascades into a whole slew of boundary crossing that's not beneficial for anyone. Right? So like if you need help with your marriage, okay, here's another perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go to my mother and complain about you.
That's a good, yeah, this is a good one. This is a good one.
If you need a marriage counselor, you go to a marriage counselor and you get help. But don't do it with your mom. I just, because you might have this thing that's annoying that guess what, you get over, but now your mom knows this thing and she's not going to get over it quite as quickly as you will. Or, and it's a breach of trust with your spouse.
Yeah.
I don't think your parents should be your.
We have an unspoken rule that is we don't talk negatively about each other with anybody else.
Mm-mm. Even in our own heads.
Even in our own heads. Yeah, we try to stay away from that game.
Mm-hmm.
So what was you
well, so my
saying?
point is
so,
the first 7/8 of this episode were all about welcoming your in-laws in and encouraging them to be a part of your life.
Yeah.
I think the last 8th needs to at least touch on the fact that there do need to be boundaries that are not crossed and they need to be maintained. And thankfully both sides of our in-laws are very respectful of those boundaries.
Yes.
What were you going to say?
No, calm. Last one is M. Maintain the boundary.
Maintain the boundaries. And it is loving to have boundaries.
Be consistent with your boundaries. And then in this note, I say don't give mixed signals. Right? So if you have a boundary and then you let them cross it and it's okay, and then the next day it's like, no, wait, we got to do this.
Right. That's
like
not nice.
That's not like you're mixing signals and that'll lead to chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then also I think publicly you need to make sure that husband and wife are always on the same team. Right?
Yes.
So if there's ever an issue and my mom is mad at you for something, well, guess what? I'm going to sit on that side of the table with you and my mom can sit over here and she can talk to us.
Mm-hmm.
And if my mom was right.
Even if you agree. Yeah.
Even if my mom is right, when she leaves, kind of like with your mom, she was very upset with me. You stood with me and said, hey, mom, this is what happened. This is what I've, and then when your mom left, you said, hey, babes, I think my mom was right. I think we needed to do better with this.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't ever gang up on your spouse with anybody.
Yeah. Bad idea.
No, you just don't do that.
I've seen it. I've seen it multiple times. Yeah, I've seen people do it. Yeah, 100%.
So publicly, united front all the time, 100% of the time, even if your spouse is wrong. And then privately, you can say, you know what? I think there might have been a little bit of truth to this. I think we need to look at this, whatever. Yeah. And like I said, get counseling if you need counseling. But
yes, that's a really good tip. Didn't think of that. Yeah. I always think about the way I equate that is I always learned you give praise in public, criticism in private. Mm-hmm. But you're in marriage, you're saying, hey, give almost similar. Yeah. Praise in public and criticism in private. Yeah. It's almost the same.
Yeah.
Identical
I don't
thing.
think there's ever, aside from like physical danger, there's not ever a time where it's appropriate to publicly criticize your spouse.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I would agree. Okay, that was some good. That was some good.
Big topic.
Big topic. I know a lot of juice there.
And I mean, that's when I know we're gonna have to do again because
we will.
We're gonna finish this thing and I'll be like, oh, I should have said this and I should have talked about this.
I know. Well, what would be cool too is just to get like as this thing goes, like getting questions too from viewers, from the audience. Like, what are some practical things that they're coming up with? Talk about it together. It'd be cool. Really cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, real quick before we sign off on this thing, if anybody does have any questions here in
have any people live?
So we've got your sister, we've got
Marcy and Marisa.
Marisa.
Oh yeah, baby.
We've got McCrae. We got Lindsay, we've got Erica.
Yeah. And then anybody, so this podcast, guys, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, a review would be awesome.
Oh, yes. I guess we have to start doing that.
I know. A review would be cool. And share it if you think other people would get value, right? Share it, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be awesome.
Well, if nobody has any questions or comments in regards to in-laws, I think we'll sign off here.
Sign off, huh? Sayonara?
Yep. Well, thank you guys.
Is that the Ninja Turtles term? Sayonara? Is that what they say?
No, that's another language. Sayonara.
Sayonara. Isn't that what the Ninja Turtles say?
You would know that better than I
Sayonara.
would.
I don't know. Okay, but
Sayonara, suckers.
suckers. Yeah. All right. Cool.
Okay. All right.
All right. Peace.
Bye.